Tonight, guilty but defiant, Donald Trump becomes a convicted criminal.
This was a rigged, disgraceful trial.
The former US president calling on millions of supporters to rally as he faces the threat of jail time over a hush money payment to a porn star. Also tonight, politicians targeted in attacks across the city. A close call for a family of 4 in Melbourne's northwest. A rock climber in his 60s rescued after falling 10 metres at Waby Gorge. And a new injury blow for the Pies as they prepare to take on the Dogs.
Live from Melbourne, 7 News with Peter Mitchell starts now.
Good evening. A defiant Donald Trump is calling on millions of Americans to rally behind him tonight after he became the first former or current US president to be convicted of a crime. He's facing the threat of a possible jail term after he was found guilty of illegally covering up a hush money payment to a porn star to silence her in the lead up to the 2016 election.
A former president and now a convicted criminal. Donald Trump punching the air in defiance outside his Manhattan penthouse, minutes after upending American political history.
We have the verdicts.
The verdict counts, it's being read out.
Count 1, guilty. Count 2, guilty.
Count 3, guilty.
We're at 34 guilty counts.
The verdict makes Trump the first ever former or current president to be convicted of a crime.
A remarkable moment in American history.
But while the trial is over in this New York court of law, Donald Trump is still fighting in the court of public opinion.
This was a disgrace. This was a rigged trial by a conflicted judge who was corrupt.
It took a jury of 12 New Yorkers, 7 men and 5 women, just 12 hours to reach a unanimous agreement to convict on all 34 charges. Charges centred on falsified business records, hiding hush money payments of $180,000 to adult film star Stormy Daniels, fearful that her claims of their sexual encounter could have derailed his 2016 run for the White House.
We didn't do a thing wrong. I'm a very innocent man.
The verdict left many outside court unsure how to feel.
I'm surprised because it's the first time he's been nailed for anything.
I don't think the people should celebrate too hard because it's definitely a serious matter.
But most weren't buying his claims of a witch hunt.
It's about time something actually stuck on him. Everyone else in his team's gone down. It's time for him to go down.
Or the anger directed towards the man who brought this historic case.
Everybody knows what happened here. You have a Soros-backed DA.
That's District Attorney Alvin Bragg, silent throughout the trial, tonight defending its integrity.
In the same manner as every other case that comes through the courtroom doors, by following the facts and the law, and doing so without fear or favor.
Bragg's case hinged on evidence from this man, a convicted perjurer and Trump's one-time legal henchman. Michael Cohen's star testimony struck a nerve with jurors. He provided the receipts for the porn star payments, and tonight his years-long crusade for revenge ended.
I guess the word is relieved. This has been 6 years in the making.
While from Miss Daniels, the feeling was mutual.
I did speak with Stormy. I mean, she was actually pretty emotional, and but she also did her duty and came to court and told the truth.
I think we'll fight till the end and we'll win because our country's gone to hell.
Sure, I think people are pretty entrenched in their positions.
If anything, it's going to make him into a martyr.
It's what Joe Biden fears. Convicted felon or not, Trump will be the Republican nominee for president, a spokesman said. The pair are due to debate in less than a month, while Trump's sentencing is set down for July 11. That's 4 days before the Republican convention to formally anoint Trump their candidate. And by the time the second debate comes around, American voters will be preparing to decide whether to put a convicted criminal back in the White House for 4 more years.
Just as a technical matter, somebody with a felony couldn't work in the West Wing. But you could be the president of the United States in the West Wing.
Yes,
it's crazy.
So Donald Trump back to this Manhattan courthouse in just 41 days for sentencing. And the presiding judge in this case has a range of options available to him, including fines and other forms of restitution. But to be crystal clear here, the threat of a prison sentence is not off the table. And technically speaking, even if Donald Trump is sent to jail, he's still eligible to run for president.
Somebody like President Trump should never face a jail sentence based on this conduct.
It's conduct, though, that's wiped 10% from the value of Trump's own media company. While his fundraising website crashed temporarily, Trump used the spotlight to call for donations by email, telling supporters he's a political prisoner.
Democrats have finally succeeded in their years-long quest to turn America into an absolute hole.
Describe it for us.
It was absolutely unreal.
Australian journalist Lachlan Cartwright was in court to watch the verdict, a bit player in this affair, after his employer hatched the plan to catch and kill, as it's known, the stormy story on Trump's behalf.
The right verdict?
It was the right verdict, yes.
Trump is already planning his next move, remarks in a few hours' time to state his case.
The real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people.
For an election campaign like the world's never seen.
This is long from over. Thank you very much.
We're joined now by US correspondents David Woiwod and Tim Lester. Firstly to David in New York. And David, what impact will this have on the upcoming election?
Good evening, Pete. Well, they call him Teflon Don for a reason. Of course, Donald Trump is a convicted crook tonight. That much is clear. And let's not forget he is also a sex offender. But right now, the former US president is attempting to spin his way out of this crisis and to somehow turn this into a net positive for his election campaign. And of course, so many of his supporters, they are buying that message. They are swallowing that hook, line and sinker. But the facts in this case, they couldn't be clearer. Donald Trump paid a porn star and then conspired to cover it up. It should be the end of the matter, and it certainly would have buried a lesser politician. Yet Donald Trump maintains that lead in the polls and that edge over his current rival, the US President Joe Biden. So the burning question for America right now really is, will this verdict actually turn any Republicans away from Donald Trump, or has it just emboldened his movement? Pete?
David Woiwod in New York, thank you. And reaction came thick and fast from Trump's loyal supporters and his fiercest enemies. Tim Lester joins us now from the US. And Tim, how will this most likely affect Trump's supporter base?
Well, Peter, there is likely the central question of the 2024 presidential election. Has today's guilty verdict dented his popularity? Of course, Donald Trump has been a near master at running the idea that he is a victim of a conspiracy, not a convicted criminal. Now we're likely to see an army of pollsters out over coming days to try to measure whether there's been any significant movement in Donald Trump's likely vote for the November election, and we'll know about it if it's there. But given the mastery he's shown in recent days, we really don't know that this is going to have any impact at all.
Fractured America.
Guilty! Guilty!
Outside the Manhattan court moments after the Trump verdict, one person appears distraught.
Arrest me instead!
More applaud.
Fantastic result. Good result for justice.
As news of America's first criminal conviction of a former president spreads around the country.
He had all the money in the world to defend himself, and he was still found guilty from his peers. And that's the way it should be.
It's a bunch of hooey. I'm going to vote for Trump either way.
From Joe Biden's campaign, caution. In New York today, we saw that no one is above the law, but there is still only one way to keep Donald Trump out of the Oval Office, at the ballot box.
Just simply, I don't think we need a convict in office if that conviction sticks.
For an ordinary politician, a verdict like this would be a dose of electoral arsenic. Donald Trump is not an ordinary politician.
I think it's going to boost his numbers.
3 weeks ago, one major poll suggested 16% of Trump supporters would reconsider their presidential vote if he were convicted of a crime. 4% were firm. They would withdraw their support. Even if just that 4% holds, it's a dangerous loss of votes for the Republican Party's expected nominee. But will it hold? Donald Trump has already been through civil trials, finding him liable for sexual assault and fraud, fined the equivalent of $660 million. it didn't even dent his hold on the Republican Party, nor cruel his polling lead over Joe Biden. Tonight, the most powerful Republican in Congress calls the court outcome ridiculous as others lead an outcry.
I can't believe the hoax, this sham, this absolute injustice justice system.
This, Donald Trump's hometown in Florida.
I don't think this is a jailable offense, in my opinion. I mean, it's possible that they could send him to jail, but the next 3 trials, that's the important stuff.
3 more criminal cases against the former president. One around those boxes of government secrets he took home after leaving the White House. 2 more on his role in the January 6th attack on Congress, an attempt to overturn his loss at the last presidential election. All 3 mired in delays and may not make it to trial before America votes. Donald Trump, tonight, guilty. But in his run to win back the White House, he's far from beaten. In the United States, Tim Lester, 7 News.
July 11th will be D-Day for Trump when he's sentenced for his crimes. Legal experts say his fate is in the judge's hands, but no one can rule out the chance he will be thrown in jail.
Donald Trump had always framed himself as the law and order president.
Law and order. It's called law and order.
Now firmly on the wrong side of the law and fighting for his freedom.
I think it's just a disgrace. And we'll keep fighting. We'll fight till the end and we'll win.
Trump's lawyers already confirming he'll appeal the decision. He can't do that until after the sentencing on July 11.
They will set a briefing schedule. That will take months, if not years.
But this is history without equal. Trump, the first president to face criminal trial, now the first to be convicted. Could he be the first jailed? Most experts say it's highly unlikely.
No, I don't. I tend to think probation and a large financial fine.
Others completely disagree.
I think it's going to be some minimal time in prison, which will really be a shocking result and will present this country with a situation that we've never seen before.
One option before the judge, probation, allowed his freedom, but only under strict supervision, reporting to a probation officer, needing permission to travel.
Typically, people get probation in a case like this where it's a first offense, but then again, this case is not a typical case.
The 34 charges were all E-class felonies, the least serious. Each carries a maximum of 4 years, but Trump's age and lack of previous convictions will work in his favour. He can't give himself a presidential pardon. That's only for federal offences. These were state crimes. Everything now in the hands of Judge Merchan.
Political and constitutional experts in the United States say this is such uncharted territory no one can predict what will happen next. But in theory, there's nothing legally to stop Donald Trump from returning to the Oval Office as president again, even if he were behind bars. The 25th Amendment of the Constitution allows the Vice President to take over if a president is unable to discharge the duties of office, but it's more likely that Trump would apply for the sentence to be suspended and serve his time once his presidential term has finished.
I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
From Bill Clinton's lying under oath over Monica Lewinsky,
I shall resign the presidency,
to Richard Nixon's Watergate saga, presidents have been exposed but never jailed. Watergate was also about a cover-up, but this time the stakes are so much higher. Fears of violence, insurrection if Trump is jailed. Another issue with jailing him, how will they accommodate the Secret Service detail that has to shadow him?
The answer is we don't know because it's never happened before.
Questions too on the impact on US-Australia relations. The Prime Minister insisting nothing will change, but saying nothing more.
I'm not about to comment on a court case over there that doesn't involve Australians.
He has to win the election first, and one certainty, he now can't vote for himself. Under Florida law, felons are banned from voting. He also can't hold a liquor or real estate licence or own a gun. America's most controversial president, once again finding himself on the wrong side of history. Chris Reason, 7 News.
Back home now and to breaking news. Victoria Police has just reached a deal with its officers, ending a bitter pay dispute. Cassie Zervos, the agreement was reached late this afternoon.
Well, Mitch, it's a major breakthrough in what's been a tense negotiation between the two sides since last November. Frontline officers will now work a 9-day fortnight. Victoria Police has also agreed to moving 9-hour shifts, meaning officers will work the same hours but be paid an extra hour to reflect the time it takes to gear up. The deal effectively means police will be entitled to an extra 22 days off a year. They've also won a 16% pay rise over the next 4 years. The deal has been signed off by the union. All that means now is for the officers to vote it in. Mitch.
Cassie Zervos in the newsroom. Thank you. Victorian MPs were forced to evacuate their offices today as pro-Palestine demonstrators took aim in a day of action. There were also violent scenes in the city where protesters clashed with workers.
The tools of protest weaponised.
Cut that shit out.
Pro-Palestine activists targeting a defence seminar on Collins Street on a day of coordinated action across the state. Demonstrators and city workers clashing as a wall of activists blocked the way.
I poured a coffee at her.
And then what did she do?
Well, then she attacked me with the megaphone.
Trying to get to work, walk into my building and physically assaulted and pushed out of the way.
Police struggling to maintain order.
The people that have been tackled and scraped in the face have actually done that as they've initiated that.
Having been held out at one doorway by police and security staff, activists are now making their way to another entrance, trying to get closer to the people attending this Defence Capabilities event they're protesting. Today's tensions fuelled by the blocking of a motion to recognise Palestine as a state in federal parliament. Labor MPs and the US consulate targeted in the early hours, windows smashed, red paint splashed across their offices.
You're trying to prevent violence by using violence.
You're a genocide supporter, you're a war criminal, and you're a coward.
Staff sent home for their safety.
Surrounding their car as they're trying to leave and banging on the car, shouting slurs at them, that's unacceptable.
It also will not change the course of the conflict in the Middle East.
We have said to Israel, do not go down this path. We have taken diplomatic efforts.
Rory Campbell, 7 News.
A family has survived a close call in Melbourne's northwest after an allegedly drunk driver smashed into the side of their house. The suspects ran from the scene, leaving their car in their kitchen and the residents with a hefty repair bill.
Out of control and into a family home.
Like a big bomb, just it's big crash, it's like and everybody's scared.
2 adults and 2 children were inside when the allegedly drunk driver crashed into the side of their house.
We all slept and around 1 o'clock we heard the big bang, and when we come out the car is in our kitchen.
The impact left a huge hole in the Bonnybrook home, the fence, kitchen and 1 bedroom all badly damaged, but incredibly no one was hurt.
My wife is totally scared, what happened. Luckily his kids is still sleeping, otherwise he's in big trauma.
In the aftermath, the driver and his entourage seemed to be shaken. It took a moment for a man in the passenger seat to crawl through the deployed airbags, but when they were all clear, the trio fled on foot.
We come out and we try to talk with them, and then they just walk away.
Local police arrived in minutes and called in the air wing. The 3 men were tracked and arrested nearby. A 31-year-old Melbourne man is expected to be charged with drink driving and other driving offences. 2 other men from New Zealand were released pending further inquiries. The family will now have to find alternate accommodation while the damage is repaired. Tyra Stowers, 7 News.
It's the survival of the fittest at Marvel Stadium tonight. Tim Watson, the Magpies and Bulldogs will both be up against it.
They sure will be, Mitch. Scott Pendlebury's injury only adds to Collingwood's woes. Chief football reporter Mitch Cleary is in the Pies rooms ahead of tonight's big game.
Thanks, Tim. Well, as we revealed this afternoon, Scott Pendlebury is out for at least a month. A partially torn bicep tendon. It pushes back his plans for his 400th game. And with Jeremy Howe now, 8 premiership players out through injury. How are you going to cover all these guys?
Oh, with guys that obviously go out of the side, it creates opportunity for guys that haven't been given one in prior games, and we get another couple of guys coming back in that wouldn't probably normally get the opportunity at this time of year. So it's great to see, and I feel like our system stacks up regardless of who's playing.
You missed the last 2 weeks. Back now. How's the body?
Yeah, it's good. It's it's just a minor tear in my adductor, so pulled up really strong. Was able to train pretty much immediately after the incident, which is great. Nice to get back because I'm not a fantastic watcher.
And all the Pies fans want to know, forward or back, where will we see you tonight?
I'll be behind the ball. We tried a little bit, but as we know, a fair few of our key forwards have gone down, so I'll start behind the ball and see where we finish.
Best luck tonight.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate it.
There you have it, Tim. The latest from the Pies camp. We'll be inside the Dogs room shortly with sport with the latest from them.
Hoodoo in Adelaide. Thanks, Mitch. Also ahead in sport, the Blues break their hoodoo in Adelaide, eyeing off a royal flush. American rapper Snoop Dogg in the thick of the action in the NBA playoffs. And 2 Aussies are through at the French Open. Mitch, plenty ahead in sport.
Thank you very much, Tim. We'll see you then. Melbourne restaurants are fighting for their survival. Next on 7 News, the perfect storm that has food's biggest players facing a crisis. Also ahead, the new plan to protect Australian women, launched in Ballarat. Princess Kate's return to royal duties on hold. Later, high-tech surgery-free help for back pain. Also, the new trend in nudes, 2 eye-opening reports.
And it's turned cold just in time for the weekend. I'll have full details shortly.
Bruce Lerman has lodged an 11th-hour appeal over his multi-million-dollar defamation case against Network 10 and Lisa Wilkinson. The matter will be considered by 3 judges later this year. In April, Justice Michael Lee found on the balance of probabilities the former Liberal staffer had raped Brittany Higgins. Some of Melbourne's top restaurants are struggling to stay in business. It's driven them to form a new lobby group, pleading for urgent tax breaks and even incentives for diners.
Every day, the margins on a meal out are being eaten away.
Electricity, wages, land tax, insurance, all of that costs have gone up across the board.
Some chefs have revealed they're now making just 60 cents on a $30 feed. 45% goes to staff wages, 35% on the cost of produce, the rest on rent and utilities.
There's no margin in the food.
These small businesses have, they've been crushed. The system is broken.
1 in every 13 hospitality businesses is expected to fail in the next 12 months. Hospo heavyweights say it's time for change.
We need changes to budgets, we need changes to legislation and policies that favour restaurants and cafes.
They've banded together to form a new lobby group asking the government for tax concessions, help with skill shortages and incentives for diners.
There's a lot of conversation about bringing the dining vouchers back.
Melbourne is the epicentre of food culture in Australia. So it's important that Melbourne leads the way.
Rather than raising their prices, some venues say they'll need to get creative to keep diners coming, switching to lower cost products or reducing their serving size.
We're definitely doing that.
Well, I think that chefs in the industry is getting creative with what they've got already to make those margins where they need to be.
Beth Yeoman, 7 News.
A rock climber in his 60s is recovering in hospital after falling up to 10 metres at Waby Gorge. Paramedics were called to the scene in Ingliston just before 2 this afternoon. He was transported by ambulance to the Royal Melbourne Hospital and is in a stable condition with upper body injuries. Ballarat has been chosen for a radical new trial to tackle violence against women. The 4-year program will target schools, sporting clubs and workplaces to change attitudes and save lives.
The Premier spent her morning in Ballarat, a town reeling from a series of violent attacks on women.
Its strength has been tested in recent months. The resilience of this community has been tested in recent months.
After the shocking deaths of Samantha Murphy, Rebecca Young and Hannah Maguire, Ballarat has been chosen to spearhead a new tactic in the battle to protect women.
We are bringing the saturation model, an Australian first, to Ballarat for the very first time.
The 4-year trial Saturate saturating residents with programs to reduce family violence, targeting schools, footy clubs and workplaces.
This feels like a bit of a game-changing day, and it is so exciting.
Have everybody on the same page where we are enforcing respect.
A commitment to not only address domestic, family and sexual violence, but to prevent it.
The Premier says the dangerous influence of toxic social media misogynists can warp young people with harmful ideologies. The trial will also target them.
It's really scary to see the influence on what's on our phones.
What you think was right once, what your parents were telling you, you may start to think the opposite.
This is a big, big challenge. This is a monstrous challenge.
Paul Dowsley, 7 News.
Princess Kate will miss one of the major ceremonial events of the year as she recovers from cancer. The Colonel's Review is the traditional rehearsal for the Trooping the Colour parade, but King Charles has been given the all-clear to attend his official birthday bash, set to watch from a carriage, not horseback. Police are fast running out of patience with the e-scooter takeover, cracking down on hundreds of rogue riders across Melbourne. Also ahead on 7 News, Boeing given a stern safety ultimatum. And all rise inside the winter spectacular that's set to wow Melbourne. The Labor-held seat of Higgins is set to be abolished at the next federal election under a new proposal from the AEC. Redrawing the boundaries in Melbourne's inner east will force voters in Higgins into the surrounding seats of Chisholm, Kooyong, Hotham, McNamara and Melbourne. Polling experts say the changes are most likely to benefit the coalition. The AEC says it's required because of a new electorate being added in WA. Nearly 300 e-scooter riders have been fined after a police blitz in Melbourne CBD. Most were caught not wearing a helmet, despite crash injuries on the rise.
It's been a popular mode of transport in the city for the past 2 years, but also a controversial one.
I just wish sometimes they'd get out of your way when you're walking along the footpath and they go a bit fast.
The double dinking's probably pretty bad. I think that one's quite dangerous.
Prompting a police blitz cracking down on e-scooter riders in the CBD.
We were really disappointed with what we found, but not surprised. So over a 2-day period, we detected almost 300 offences involving e-scooter riders.
The majority of fines were for failing to wear a helmet. 73 people were caught riding on the footpath, 12 ran a red light, 3 had more than one person on board, and 5 were caught on overpowered scooters, technically making them unregistered vehicles.
This plague of e-scooters on our footpaths is not fair. It's not fair for older Victorians, for people with disabilities. It's not fair for families with young kids and all of us.
The number of people who presented to emergency departments because of e-scooter related incidents almost doubled last year. 958 riders required treatment, with fractures and head trauma the most common injuries.
People still take this reckless, almost arrogant approach to riding e-scooters, so we just can't have that go on.
Geordie Wright, 7 News.
The Albanese government has announced $31 million in funding for energy and humanitarian assistance to Ukraine. President Zelensky had been requesting shipments of coal from Australia, but Labor says that's not feasible.
Well, actually, if you ship coal from Australia, you have shipping and insurance costs.
Ukraine's energy network has been severely damaged by the war with Russia. And embattled airline manufacturer Boeing has been told it can't increase the production of its MAX planes until serious quality issues are resolved. Sweeping production and safety changes were presented in a marathon meeting with America's Federal Aviation Administration. Both parties will now hold weekly meetings to check progress on that plan. Melbourne is about to light up for the annual Rising Festival, a winter spectacular filled with live music and art. Hundreds of performers from around the world are heading our way to take over our landmarks and laneways.
As the mercury drops, the Rising Festival begins. Bringing the city to life. Now in its third year, the 2024 program will feature 650 artists and showcase 120 events from music and dance to theatre performances. And art exhibitions all over the city. Many of the experiences free to enjoy.
The Rivers Sing, which is happening on the river every night at sunset. This is a massive operatic score that comes from the river and it goes through the whole city.
The festival comes at a welcome time for the city's retailers as winter sets in and business slows down. More than 750,000 people attended the event last year, pouring $41 million into the state's economy.
Artists from around the world and from Melbourne coming together with bars and food offerings, and it's what we do so well in Melbourne.
The festival opens tomorrow night and runs for 3 weeks. Christy Mayer, 7 News.
There's new high-tech help to treat back pain and it's completely surgery-free. Next, a special 7 News medical report. Also ahead, paramedics issue a winter plea to Victorians. Why more Melbourne women are queuing up to go nude. And in sport with Tim, live coverage ahead of the Pies Dogs clash. Plus the Blues arrive home daring to dream. Victorians are being urged to only call 000 in an emergency as Ambulance Victoria struggles to meet demand.
We need the community to help us by saving 000 for emergencies only. There are many options for alternative healthcare, so please consider those first.
Ambulance Victoria says it's been on code orange every day of this week, the second busiest period on record. New high-tech Australian research is treating back pain like it's virtually child's play. The non-surgical relief boasts an 80% reduction in suffering.
The 1 in 6 Australians who suffer back pain know the anguish is both physical and mental.
Even trying to find a good spot or way to sit, sleeping, left, right, back, up, down, it was just awful.
A popular singer. Like many chronic pain sufferers, Cindy became afraid to move around and her world shrunk. But an Australian first study of its kind has given Cindy her life back.
It provides this immersive, distracting environment where they're not necessarily thinking about their trunk and their pain.
Using a VR headset alongside a physio, patients can learn a new kind of movement safely.
I think it's fun.
And often can't believe what they're capable of.
You think, did I really do that? Is it me bending now and not saying it's sore or aching?
In order to change someone's beliefs, it's got to make sense to them through a lived experience.
The hope is this approach will be rolled out more widely and used as a tool to complement traditional physio.
The VR research into back pain has only been made possible through generous donors.
When you go through the pain that I went through, and others may be worse than me, the hope is that this can help you.
All game, no pain. Katrina Blowers, 7 News.
Melburnians are braving the chilly weather, stripping off in the name of fine art. A talented local painter has cornered the growing nude portrait market, with her subjects waiting months for a sitting.
Bearing all for art's sake, talented Melburnian Melissa La Bozzetta has become a huge success story, renowned for her paintings and sculptures of the female form.
This little Italian spicco from Beaumaris, it's just I never thought I'd get hip.
Clients are flocking to the 53-year-old's Paran Gallery, eager to disrobe.
They can be 18, 19, 20, 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. I recently did this exquisite woman who is 62.
The bespoke artworks are so popular, there's a 5-month wait list. The gifted mother's reputation sweeping the globe.
She's super talented. I was reviewing, I review usually her art every month or so, and I can really say that she's very talented.
Buyers from the USA and Germany snap up her work, which has hung in the world's most famous art galleries, including the Louvre.
A gallery in Austria, Pax Gallery, and then of course New York opened up, And now I've got art collectors all over the world.
It's every artist's dreams to be able to display their pieces in those beautiful galleries.
Prices start at $4,000, with some selling for $40,000. For Melissa's clients, the sentiment is priceless.
They want to have a creation of themselves so they can look at for the rest of their lives.
Jackie Quist, 7 News.
From art to footy, and it's a big night at Marvel Stadium. Tim Watson, the Magpies and Bulldogs have both been hit hard by injuries.
Mitch, but it won't stop a cracking clash tonight. Up next, we'll cross live into the rooms as we count down to the opening bounce. Geelong's senior players on notice. The Blues return home eyeing another big scalp. And Snoop Dogg left red-faced courtside in the NBA playoffs.
Tonight's edition of The Nightly is out now. Australia's only digital newspaper to drop nightly. And it's free, delivered to your pocket every weeknight. Spend your night wisely. Free at thenightly.com.au.
Welcome back to Marvel Stadium, where the injury-hit Magpies and the Bulldogs are about to lock horns. Returning to Chief Football reporter Mitch Cleary. Mitch, the Dogs need this one if they're about to keep in touch with the top 8.
Well, Tim, super important for them. While win for the Pies would put them back inside the top 4. Collingwood, we know, have a host of injuries, but the Dogs, they aren't without their own concerns. Ed Richards and Tom Liberatore out of that midfield tonight with concussion. It opens the door for Riley Sanders, the draftee, to play a full game in the engine room. While in attack, Aaron Norton's knee injury means Rory Lobb plays his first game back, and a different role too for Sam Darcy.
Yeah, we had it early in the season when Mara was out for a couple of games. We played quite well, so we're excited. It means Sam can spend a bit more time forward and not as much time in the ruck, and Lobby can do a bit of ruck stuff. So that's exciting for us to see Darcy a bit more as a pure forward. But in saying that, Darcy will get some opportunity on ball as well.
The subs tonight, Will Parker for the Pies, Lockie McNeil for the Bulldogs. And exciting news at the kennel, Tom Liberatore expected back next week against Brisbane. Tim?
Thanks, Mitch. Chris Scott is keeping level-headed as the Cats look to bounce back from 4 losses in a row. Kate Massey has more.
A lengthy chat between coach and the stand-in skipper as Chris Scott puts the Cats' core on notice.
We've had some really important players for us who have just been less than their best, and collectively that's compounded into us losing 3 games by about a kick.
4 losses in a row for the first time in his tenure, but Chris Scott isn't buying into the hysteria.
It's interesting that we haven't lost 4 in a row for a while, but sort of the order of the losses throughout the year, I think at the end of the day, won't be that relevant.
And he's definitely not downplaying an injury-ravaged Tigers, who will travel to Geelong for the first time since 2017.
Sydney are clearly the best team in the competition as it stands right now. The only team that's beaten them is Richmond. We're expecting that version.
Look, we haven't won for a little while as well, so a little bit worried our players might be a bit anxious around that as well. So we've just got to go down there with a plan, and we're going down there with nothing to lose.
In a boost, skipper Patrick Dangerfield could return from a hamstring injury as soon as next week.
He's going to be hard to keep out of the team for much longer.
Mark Blitzarves will also return from suspension for their clash with the Swans. Kate Massey, 7 News.
Carlton has roared back into the top 4 after an upset win in Adelaide, but the stakes are about to get even higher.
Making Carlton great again, the Blues back in contention after trumping the Power on their home turf, putting a stormy month behind them.
That was one of the better ones that I've played in for sure. To be able to go away in a ground where we haven't been able to have as much success, but then also against a side that's in really good nick, to come over the 4 points is really pleasing.
Skipper Patrick Cripps got to work when the Whips were cracking his 4th quarter masterclass, igniting the Blues' charge in an 8-3 blitz.
It's just that nice little signature moment, if you want to call it, where a record that has been there, or a history that's been there, is not so much a factor anymore.
They were better than us in the last quarter, but it's hard to deny, isn't it? They spanked us there.
Curnow, Mackay and newfound forward Zach Williams booted 3 each. Port Adelaide exposed on a night the whole country was watching to see the AFL's new rule tweak. 75 Carlton tackles, 60 for the Power, 8 holding the ball free kicks. Next Sunday night, finally the moment the Mackay family has been waiting for.
I'm not going to lie, in the last 2 minutes I was thinking, gee, I hope I don't
hit my head or a roll an ankle or something. But I've done my part, Dale, so hopefully Ben gets through on Sunday and we can have some fun next week.
Theodoropoulos, 7 News.
To tennis now, and Alex de Minaur is through to the third round at the French Open for the first time. He dominated Spaniard Jaume Munar in straight sets. Fellow Aussie Thanasi Kokkinakis came from 2 sets down to win, while number 1 Novak Djokovic used every part of centre court in a straight sets victory. 50,000 fans are descending on the Adelaide Oval ahead of tonight's Matildas friendly with China. The Aussies still have plenty to play for, with 4 spots up for grabs in the Olympic squad for Paris. After tonight's sold-out match, the Matildas head to Sydney for another sellout on Monday night. The Dallas Mavericks are through to the NBA Finals thanks to a starring role from Luka Doncic in Game 5 against Minnesota.
What is going on here? He is on one tonight.
He finished with 36 points and dished out some trash talk to American rapper Snoop Dogg. The Mavericks will meet Boston in the finals. Mitch, and I think we're about to find out tonight the tipping point for the Magpies. I'm tipping the Dogs here at Marvel Stadium, and I think it's going to be a great contest, though.
Should be a ripper. Thank you very much indeed, Tim. Jane Bunn is next with the forecast. Jane, what's in store for the weekend?
Well, Mitch, the chilly weather is certainly with us for the first weekend of winter. I'll show you when to keep the umbrella handy next.
Tomorrow on Weekend Sunrise, childcare crisis impact regional towns, the latest solutions and financial aid, plus allergy-free alternatives, new swaps for common foods, and all aboard the Wellbeing Wagon, helping kids find friends in the schoolyard. Only on Weekend Sunrise.
Hello again. The rain delivered overnight, particularly if you're in northeast Victoria. The city picked up 4 millimetres last night, but that was all gone by dawn with lots of sunshine returning. We reached a top of 18 in the city before the sky darkened and showers set in, mainly over eastern suburbs. Short and sharp, producing a few rainbows. Geelong saw 2 millimetres last night, eastern suburbs 5 to 10. The heavier falls were to our north, there was 15 in Wallen. Most reached 18 after another night in double figures thanks to the wind, rain and cloud. Tonight will be rather different. Autumn has come to an end and our nights were spot on average, but our days were more than half a degree warmer than average. Overall, we really didn't see much rain. The city totalled 26 millimetres. That was during May. That is 30 less than average. Showers picked up this afternoon, generally skipping western suburbs and redeveloping in the east. Now, this is the introduction of some colder air, especially if you are caught in the wind. The city is heading down to 7 degrees tonight. The map really shows the latest rain situation well. The west and south had a few millimetres up to 15. The northeast really delivered thanks to help from the ranges. A standout was Shepparton, 58 millimetres. That's more than a month's worth of rain in just 8 hours. But it wasn't enough to get us over the line, except in the central north. At least 80% of Victoria had below average rain. At least 50% had less than half. The rain band cleared the state early this morning with lots of sunshine in behind it. Showers followed mainly over the southwest up to the eastern ranges, but an enhanced area of activity developed in the northwest as expected late this afternoon. That is set to bring minor falls to the Mallee as that moves through slowly tonight. A cold front split the high pressure systems and turned a feed of moisture into widespread rain. That rain band keeps moving eastwards, then a low pressure system does develop off the east coast while another big system arrives over in the west. Around the nation tomorrow, that rain band is moving through Sydney and Brisbane. Dry conditions do return to Adelaide, but over in Perth, they are late showers with that front. To Victoria, areas of morning fog and frost, mainly about the ranges. The west and north are all dry by dawn, lots of sunshine tomorrow. Light showers are lingering over the southeast. Closer in, the chillies here, those 20s are far behind us now. Just light showers, mainly over eastern suburbs and mainly in the afternoon. In amongst those showers, there should be some sunny breaks, but there's a definite chill chill in the air. We start on 7, the top is just 14 degrees. To the 8-day outlook, get used to those 14s as they are here on Sunday, Monday and Tuesday as well. We recover to 15 on Wednesday. Now, it is generally dry all through this area here. We do have that low pressure system that is off the coast. Now, most of the modelling tonight suggests it is too far off the coast for us to get much rain coming in next week. If we do, it comes in later Tuesday through to Thursday, but now it's looking quite light. A top of 14 for tomorrow, light showers. They're mainly over the east and again, mainly in the afternoon, Mitch.
And just like that, hello winter.
Winter is definitely here.
Bang. Thank you very much, Jane. And that's the way it is this Friday, the 31st of May. Thanks for your company. For now, from the 7 News team, good night.
Stream 7 News live and on demand on 7plus and stay informed on 7news.com.au. Nobody knows news better.